All right, let's talk about a word you hear thrown around all the time in tech, DevOps. You know, it can sound super complicated, but I promise, by the end of this, you're going to get it. It's really all about making the whole process of building software way faster, way better, and, well, just a lot less painful for everyone involved. So let's dive right in.
Okay, so think about this for a second. Have you ever wondered how a company like Netflix or Amazon can push out updates like multiple times a day? You're binge-watching a show, and they're literally changing the engine while the car is speeding down the highway, and you don't even notice a bump. How do they do that? Well, the short answer, and really the big secret, is DevOps.
But to really appreciate what DevOps does, we kind of have to go back in time a little bit. We need to understand the problem it was actually invented to solve. Let's talk about what we can call the development dilemma.
So in the before times, let's say, software was built behind this metaphorical wall of confusion, and it was a pretty thick wall. You had the people writing the code on one side and the people who had to make sure that code actually worked for customers on the other. Two totally separate teams working in their own little worlds, and, well, they often wanted completely different things.
Yeah, so on one side of that wall, you've got your development team. We'll call them Dev. Their job, their whole reason for being, is to crank out new features. Go, 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 change things, make it better. But then on the other side, you have the operations team, Ops, and their job is the exact opposite. Their mission is to keep everything stable. Don't touch anything. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So you've got one team whose job is to create change and another whose job is to prevent it. I mean, you can already see where this is going, right? It's a recipe for conflict. And yeah, this conflict, it caused some major headaches. We're talking development cycles that dragged on forever. You'd have these amazing new features that were finished, but they'd just sit there, collecting dust, because deploying them was such a nightmare. There was constant finger-pointing, total miscommunication, and to top it all off, everything was done by hand. So you know what that means. Human error, all the time. It was slow, it was frustrating, and honestly, pretty expensive.
Okay, so how do you fix this? How do you tear down that wall of confusion and get these two warring tribes to actually work together? Well, you guessed it. This is exactly where DevOps enters the picture.
Now, this is super important to get right. DevOps is not just a piece of software you buy. It's not a job title you can just give someone. It's bigger than that. It's a whole new way of thinking, a cultural shift, a philosophy. It's basically a set of practices that says, hey, Dev and Ops, you're not separate anymore. You're one team now. You're going to share responsibility for this thing, from the first line of code all the way to the customer, and back again.
And really, it all comes down to three main ideas. First up, collaboration. Super simple. Devs and Ops are on the same team, period. They talk, they work together. Second, automation. This is huge. The goal is to automate everything you possibly can. All those boring, repetitive, manual tasks where people make mistakes. And third, continuous delivery. This just means your software should always be in a state where you could, if you wanted to, release it to your users with the push of a button. All right, so that's the what and the why. Now let's get to the fun part, the how. Let's actually look at what this looks like day to day, the DevOps lifecycle.
So, the first thing you'll notice here is the shape. It's not a straight line from start to finish. It's an infinity loop, and that's the whole point. It never ends. You start with a plan, right? Then the developers write the code. That code gets automatically built and tested, no humans involved. Then it's released and deployed. But here's the kicker. It doesn't stop there. Now the ops side kicks in, operating and monitoring everything. And all the data they collect, all the feedback, it flows right back to the beginning, into the next planning phase. It's a constant cycle of improvement.
And what's the point of all this? The whole goal of this loop is to make that journey, from a cool idea someone has in a meeting to a real working feature that a customer can use, as short as humanly possible, and then to do it again and again and again, safely and reliably every single time.
Okay, that's the theory. It sounds great, right? But does this stuff actually work in the real world? Let's take a look at some frankly mind-blowing examples of DevOps out in the wild.
I want you to just let this number sink in for a second. 11.6 seconds. At Amazon, that's the average time between them deploying new code. Every 11.6 seconds, something new is going live on their site. That is absolutely insane. And that is the raw power of what a fully mature DevOps culture can do.
And look, it's not just some Amazon trick. Think about Netflix. The only way they can run that massive global streaming empire is with DevOps. Or check out Etsy. They went from doing updates maybe once every couple of weeks to pushing out changes 50 times a day.
Imagine being able to respond to your customers that quickly. That kind of speed is a game changer.
So let's just wrap up the benefits here, because they're huge. You get to release new stuff way faster. Your teams actually like working with each other. Your whole system is more stable and reliable because robots are doing the boring work. And all of that, every single bit of it, leads to the one thing that matters most: happier customers.
So yeah, DevOps has completely changed the game. But the story's not over. It's always evolving. So let's take a quick peek at what's coming next. What's on the horizon?
But look, let's be real for a second. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. The benefits are incredible, yes, but getting there can be tough. The biggest hurdle, honestly, is the cultural shift. You're asking people to completely change how they've worked for years. That's hard. And yeah, there's an upfront cost. You need new tools, you need to train people. It's a real investment. And the evolution is definitely not slowing down. Now we're hearing all these new buzzwords, right? There's DevSecOps, which is a fancy way of saying we're building security in from the very start, not just tacking it on at the end. There's AOps, which is using AI to help watch over things and predict problems before they happen. And GitOps, which is this really cool idea of managing your entire infrastructure just like you manage your code. The future is already here, basically.
And all this leads to a pretty wild final thought. With AI getting smarter and automation getting better every single day, are we heading towards a future of no ops? A world where the infrastructure is so smart it just manages itself, and that whole ops team just kind of disappears? Something to chew on. Thanks for